It was nearly midnight when I heard the words that changed everything. I wasn't even supposed to be awake. But when you're sleeping on a borrowed couch in someone else's home, comfort is a luxury. The baby monitor crackled faintly on the side table, and for a second, I thought it was just the usual static, until I heard my name, whispered, sharp, like a secret that had teeth. I froze. My fingers stopped mid-scroll on my phone. My stomach dropped. I leaned closer, breath shallow, barely daring to believe what I was hearing. "She's getting too comfortable here, Matt. It's like she thinks this is her house." My name wasn't said, but it didn't need to be, because the woman speaking was Claire, my best friend since we were kids, the woman who once told me I was like a sister, the woman whose baby I had stayed up night after night helping to soothe while she cried herself to sleep from postpartum exhaustion, the woman who begged me to move in after she gave birth, because I just can't do this without you. But now, here she was, telling her husband I'd overstayed. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just listened. And what she said next cut so deep, I swear it bruised a part of me I didn't even know existed. We'll rewind a little, so it makes sense how I ended up in that house in the first place. Claire and I had been friends since we were 12. We met in a middle school gym class when I tripped over my own shoelaces during volleyball, and she laughed so hard she snorted. We bonded instantly. Throughout high school and college, we were inseparable. Sleepovers, breakups, bad tattoos, and all-night study sessions. We went through everything together. I was there when she met Matt, her now husband. I helped her pick the dress she wore on their first date. I was her maid of honor when they got married. And when she called me in tears 3 months after giving birth, saying she didn't know who she was anymore, that she was scared of being alone with the baby, that Matt had gone back to work and she felt like she was drowning, I came, no hesitation, no questions. I packed a bag, took a leave of absence from work, and moved into their guest room that night. "It's just for a little while," she had said, "until I feel like myself again." That was 6 months ago. In the beginning, it felt like the right thing. Noble, even. I was helping someone I loved. The baby, little Emma, took to me immediately. Claire needed sleep, support, reassurance, and I gave it all freely. I did the midnight feeds when Matt was too tired. I cleaned, cooked, folded laundry, ran errands. Claire once cried and told me, "I don't know what I'd do without you." And I believed her. But over time, things started to shift. Small things at first. Claire started snapping at me over little things. The bottle not being in the right spot, the laundry being folded wrong. Matt began avoiding me. He'd eat dinner quickly, say he was tired, and disappear upstairs without so much as a good night. I chalked it up to stress. I told myself they just needed space, that once Emma slept through the night, everything would get better. Then came the baby monitor incident. That night, I couldn't sleep. I was restless, my mind tangled in stress and exhaustion. So I turned on the baby monitor, more out of habit than anything. I always kept it on low volume. Emma hadn't made a sound, but I heard voices. Claire and Matt. Their bedroom shared a wall with the nursery, and apparently, they didn't know the monitor had a two-way mic that picked up everything. "She's in our way, Matt," Claire said, her voice a low whisper. "She never leaves. She's just always there." I could hear the tension in Matt's silence, then a sigh. "She means well," he said. Claire scoffed. "She thinks she means well. But I'm starting to feel like a guest in my own house, like I have to tiptoe around my own baby, because she's always one step ahead of me." I felt like I was choking. "She thinks she's the mom," Claire whispered. "It's creepy, Matt. Like like she's playing house with our family. I sat up. My hands were shaking. I turned off the monitor. I couldn't listen anymore. The next morning, I acted normal. Or, I tried to. I made coffee. I sang to Emma while I changed her. I didn't say anything to Claire. How could I? She had no idea I heard. And what would I even say? But things changed after that. Not just in how I felt, but in how Claire acted too. Like something in her had shifted. Like maybe she wanted me to know. She started leaving passive-aggressive notes around the house. Please leave the dishes drying, not wet. The baby doesn't need that many layers. She began correcting me constantly, in front of Matt, even in front of Emma. And worst of all, she started taking over everything again, but in this cold, performative way. She'd feed Emma just minutes after I'd done it, then say things like, "Oh, poor baby. No wonder she's still hungry." I felt like I was being erased. I told myself I needed to leave, that it had gone too far. But every time I tried to bring it up, Claire would suddenly get warm again. She'd pour me tea, ask me to watch Emma so she could nap, tell me how grateful she was. It was like whiplash, emotional manipulation in the softest, most confusing form, until the day I heard her say it out loud. "I want her gone." This time, she didn't whisper. I was coming down the hallway with a load of folded laundry when I heard her talking to Matt in the kitchen. She's emotionally unstable. I think she's obsessed with Emma. Matt said something I couldn't make out. "No, Matt, listen to me. She doesn't belong here anymore. I'm the mother, not her." I stood in the hallway for a long time. I dropped the laundry. I walked straight back to the guest room and started packing. I didn't confront her, not directly. I left her a note, just 3 lines. "Thank you for letting me be a part of Emma's life. I hope one day you'll remember why I came." I moved out that night, into a friend's apartment across town. Claire didn't call. Matt didn't text. 2 months later, I heard from Claire. Not directly. She posted something on Facebook. A long, emotional post about losing a friend who crossed boundaries. About trusting someone too much. The comments were flooded with sympathy. "You're so strong. Protect your family. You did the right thing." I didn't respond. I didn't defend myself. But I knew, deep down, that Claire was rewriting the narrative. To her, I was never the friend who dropped everything to help. I was never the one who walked Emma for hours at night so she could sleep. I wasn't the one who made bottles, sang lullabies, held her hand during panic attacks. To her, I was a threat. Months passed. I got a new job. I tried to move on, but I never stopped thinking about that baby, about Emma. And the silence that replaced Claire's betrayal was somehow louder than anything she ever said. Then one day, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address, just my name. Inside was a photo of Emma, a recent one, smiling, a tiny post-it stuck to the back. "She still sleeps with the blanket you gave her. I'm sorry." No signature, just that. And for the first time in a long time, I cried. I kept the photo tucked between the pages of a book on my nightstand. Not out of spite, but because I didn't know what else to do with it. For days, I stared at it before bed, sometimes crying, sometimes just numb. I knew that handwriting. Claire's blocky, sharp loops, the tiny heart she always drew over the letter I. The note wasn't just an olive branch. It was a wound, reopened, soft, quiet, and bleeding memory. She still sleeps with the blanket I gave her. It was pink, hand-knitted. I'd spent nights hunched over YouTube tutorials, learning how to make it when Claire was 6 months pregnant. The baby shower guests had brought expensive strollers and bottles. My gift had been a labor of love. Claire cried when she unwrapped it. "You're going to be her favorite. she said, and for a while, maybe I was. The note shook me, not because of what it said, but because it meant Claire still thought of me. Somehow, after all the silence, the public shaming, the betrayal behind closed doors, a small piece of her remembered who I used to be to them. I didn't know if that made it better or worse. For weeks, I tried to forget again. I told myself it wasn't worth reopening. She had chosen her narrative. I had removed myself with as much dignity as I could manage. But something in me itched. This relentless need for closure, for truth. Not the version Claire had rewritten for her social circle. Not the blurred memory Matt probably carried. But real, messy, painful truth. So I reached out. I didn't call or text. I sent her a letter. Old school, like we used to do in high school, when we fought over boys or prom drama. I kept it short, but honest. Claire, I got the photo. I wasn't expecting it, but thank you. I miss her. I miss you. I don't know what happened, not really, but I know it hurt both of us. I just want peace. If there's a conversation to be had, I'm open to it. Jenna. I sent it and let it go. 2 weeks passed. Then one afternoon, as I walked into the lobby of the bookstore where I worked, my phone buzzed. A message from Claire. Can we talk? In person, please. We met at a coffee shop on the edge of town. Neutral territory, public, safe. I got there first and nearly backed out twice. But then I saw her. Hair longer now, dark circles under her eyes, wearing a soft pink sweater that looked familiar. She was holding a small toy in her hand, a rubber duck Emma used to carry around like a security blanket. She looked at me like she didn't know how to start. Hi, I said, and it came out shakier than I intended. Hi. We sat. Awkward silence bloomed between us. I stared at the duck in her hand, then up at her face, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel anger. I felt exhaustion. I was scared, Claire said, breaking the silence. Back then, when you were living with us, I felt like I couldn't breathe. I blinked. Because of me, she nodded, slowly. Not just you, but, yeah, you were so good with Emma, better than I was. And I was already hanging on by a thread. Every time you stepped in, it reminded me that I wasn't enough. I hated you for being the person I needed. It hit me like a punch. Claire, I know, she cut in. I know you didn't mean to take anything from me, but I felt like I was fading, and you were filling in all the parts of me I hated. The capable ones, the patient ones. She looked down, eyes glassy. And Matt, he started noticing. He'd say things like, Jenna handled it, or, why don't you rest? Jenna's got it. And every time, I felt like I was being replaced, like you were the better mom. I swallowed hard. I only ever wanted to help. I know. The silence this time felt different, heavier, but honest. I was going to ask you to leave, she said, but I didn't know how, so I poisoned the air instead. I made you feel unwelcome, so you'd walk out before I had to confront myself. That's exactly what happened. She winced. And then you told people I crossed boundaries. That I was obsessed. She rubbed her forehead. I was trying to justify what I did. I couldn't say, I was jealous of the woman who helped raise my baby. So I painted you as unstable. It was easier. I stared at her. Do you have any idea how much that hurt? Her lip trembled, more than I wanted to admit. We talked for 2 hours, some of it quiet, some of it raw, some of it soaked in tears. I told her about the night I heard her through the baby monitor, how I sat frozen, unable to believe the words coming out of her mouth, how I kept showing up for Emma, even when it felt like I was being erased, how I walked out with my heart in pieces because I refused to fight with someone I loved. Claire listened. She apologized. More than once. And I could tell she meant it. But she also said something I didn't expect. I wasn't wrong about one thing, she said quietly. You were getting too comfortable. You stopped looking for your own place. You started acting like you belonged. And maybe you did, for a while. But I didn't know how to get my space back. I sat with that, because it was fair. I had stayed longer than planned. I stopped checking in with my own life. I became someone else's support system without boundaries. And that's when it clicked. We both failed each other. Before we left, Claire reached into her bag and pulled out a folded drawing. Emma's scribbles, crayon mess, and one word, written by Claire in the corner. Auntie, she still asks for you, she said, her voice breaking. I didn't know how to explain why you were gone. I didn't either. That night, I didn't go back to Claire's house. This wasn't about returning to the past. It wasn't about being needed again. It was about understanding what went wrong. And finally, letting go of the guilt that had festered for too long. Over the next few weeks, we rebuilt slowly. Texts, then phone calls. I saw Emma again, briefly at a park. She ran toward me like no time had passed, arms wide, squealing my name. And in that moment, I realized something. Love isn't always clean or simple. Sometimes it's murky, tangled with resentment, fear, and unspoken wounds. But if you're lucky and honest and willing to face the dark parts, you can still salvage the pieces that matter. Claire and I will never be who we were, but maybe we're building something better, something real, something earned. It would have been easier if we left it there. The coffee shop confession, the apology, the quiet park reunion, where Emma wrapped her arms around my neck like nothing had changed. It could have ended like that. Bittersweet, but neat. But life isn't a neatly folded chapter. Just when you think you've come to terms with the past, it finds a new way to tug at your sleeve. 2 weeks after seeing Emma, Claire asked if we could meet again. This time, she seemed nervous. There was something in her tone, unsure, hesitant, like she was asking for more than just coffee or closure. I agreed, not knowing I was about to step back into something far messier than I'd prepared for. We met at her house, the same house I'd packed up and left in silence months ago. Walking through the front door was like time traveling. Every corner of that place held a memory. Emma's giggles bouncing down the hallway. My sock drawer in the guest room. The faint sound of lullabies from the baby monitor. Claire poured us tea. Her hands trembled slightly. I need to tell you something, she said, eyes fixed on her mug. I braced myself. She took a deep breath, then looked up. Matt left. I blinked. What? Last week, he said he needed space, that he hasn't been happy for a long time. I couldn't speak. Claire laughed bitterly. Said he felt like he never got his wife back after Emma was born. That I pushed everyone away, including him. That I didn't know how to trust people. My chest tightened. And the worst part, her voice cracked. He said, you were the only one who ever really tried to hold us together. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to say the wrong thing, but silence felt just as cruel. I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty, Claire said quickly. I know you tried your best, but it's like, once you left, everything I had blamed on you was still there. The distance, the resentment, the confusion. She paused. I just didn't have anyone left to hide behind. For the first time, I saw her differently, not just as the woman who'd hurt me, but as someone grieving the version of life she thought she was supposed to have. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. She took another deep breath. Because I don't know how to do this alone, and because part of me wishes I hadn't driven you away. Her eyes locked on mine. Would you ever consider moving back? Not forever, Just for a while. Help with Emma. Help me figure this out. I stared at her, heart pounding. And then the voice I'd buried months ago rose in my throat. You don't need me like that anymore, Claire. The silence that followed was different this time. It wasn't heavy with accusation or guilt. It was clean, a pause where honesty could breathe. I loved helping you, I said. I loved Emma like she was my own. But I lost myself here. I stopped living for me, and I can't go back to that. She nodded slowly, eyes watering. I just didn't realize how much I leaned on you until you were gone. I didn't either, until I left. That night, I went home with something new, closure and clarity. It would have been easy to slip back into that role. Comforting, familiar, but I had grown. I wasn't the same Jenna who showed up 6 months ago, with a suitcase and a heart full of rescue. I was stronger now, wiser, still aching maybe, but not broken. A few days later, Claire sent me a photo, Emma playing in a sandbox, holding a plastic spoon, like it was a magic wand. The caption read, "She said your name today and blew a kiss to the sky." I didn't cry. I smiled, because I knew that loving someone didn't always mean staying. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is step away before you lose yourself. And sometimes, the people who say your family have to lose you before they understand what that really means. 1 year later, life moved forward. I took a new job in a new city. I joined a book club, adopted a scruffy rescue dog named Mabel, and finally felt like I was living my life, not a supporting role in someone else's. Claire and I talk occasionally. Emma sends voice notes where she tries to say my name and ends up calling me Nena. It still melts my heart, but I never moved back, and I never became her crutch again. There's peace in knowing you were there for someone when they needed you most, and there's even more peace in knowing when to walk away before it costs you everything. So if you've ever been the one who stayed too long, who gave too much, who was told you were like family, only to be cast out, hear this. It doesn't mean you were wrong to love. It means you were brave enough to show up, even when the thank you never came. Listen, what would you have done in her shoes? Would you have gone back or walked away like she did?